The smartest people learn from other people's lessons, mistakes, advice, and they don't just rely on experience or learning the lesson the hard way. So that's exactly what I'm going to do in this video, is give you guys 5 business lessons that took me years to learn, and I'm going to give you guys to them in the next 10 minutes. And the big thing is it's really all 5 of these lessons working together that makes them so powerful. Yes, you can take 1 or take 2, but if you can use all 5 of these, really believe them and really alter your behavior around these lessons and apply them to your life, that's where you guys are going to see the absolute best results. So lesson number 1 is reputation will become one of the biggest assets that you have as a business owner. At first, you just get paid strictly based on what you can do. And usually early on, you're chasing money. You're like, hey, I need money, or you're just giving away your service because nobody knows you, nobody trusts you. And at the end of the day, money is always going to follow trust. So in the beginning, you're just working to build that. But if you can do that long-term, provide more value than you're getting over and over and over again for 5 years, that's where you're going to have the asset that's going to make you money. So like I said, early on, you get paid just strictly based on what you know. You're trading time for money. You have no leverage. Then the next step is you get paid based on your knowledge. People say, oh, this guy kind of knows what he's talking about. He's getting good results for my friend. I'm going to try to, give him a go. Then eventually you get paid based solely on who you are. You become the guy in the industry after 5, 6, 7 years. Everybody knows who you are. Hey, if you need this, that's the guy to go to. People just hear so many good things about you. All barriers to, oh, I don't have money, or I don't know if it's worth it, or, all of these common objections really just go out the window because they know, hey, I need this. That's the guy. No questions. Here you go. They almost just start throwing money at you, right? So that reputation is really just going to reduce friction in business. Deals are going to come to you. They're going to get easier to close because people already trust you. But the sad part is most people never get to this point because they don't think of the reputation as an asset. They don't realize that they are building something for the long term that will actually yield them money. Just like, hey, investing in real estate, you're investing this is an asset that's going to make me money down the road. It's the same thing with your reputation. So that's why every single business deal that you do, every person you talk to is so important in the beginning, because you're building that reputation, you're building that asset. So you're always trying to give more than you're getting, and you have to do that for years and years and years. A client says, hey, I wasn't happy with the service, boom, you have to refund them. Sometimes you just have to take the worst end of the deal, and you're just constantly doing right by your clients, constantly providing as much value. And over time, that will become an asset that you can pull from. So number 2 is what you do for a year barely matters, but what you do for 10 is everything. And one of the biggest realizations that I had is if you can do almost anything for a decade, you can become wealthy. What you do for a year rarely makes money, right? You start a new business, you do it for a year. Rarely are you going to go from 0 to $500,000 a year. Yes, there's some outliers, but more times than not, that's not going to happen. Like I said, you have to build that reputation, you have to build connections, you have to build knowledge, you have to build skills that will make you that money. And it's going to take time. But again, most people never get to that point because they jump from ship to ship. But if you can do almost anything, even if you have a niche, hobby, I love Pokemon cards, or I love streaming video games and, doing that on Twitch, or I love landscaping. It doesn't really matter what you do. If you can do it for 10 years and you can keep building those skills, which compound upon each other, that knowledge, the reputation, the connections, it all compounds upon itself to make business easier and easier and easier as you start to grow. Now, again, first year, barely make money. Year 2, again, you kind of compound it a little bit, but it's not going to really yield much results. Year 3, barely anything. More times than not, year 5, you're going to make more money than you did in all the previous 4, but it takes time to start to build that. And the common trap that people fall into is they always want that novelty. They always want something new. They expect it to feel fun or feel interesting to go and build wealth, but more times than not, it's going to be really boring. It's going to be doing the same thing every day, not really seeing results for months on end while you continue to build your skills, your reputation, delivering the same service over and over and over again, making slight improvements to your product, to your service, to your systems. But doing that for 10 years is where wealth is going to come from, not from doing things that are interesting, changing businesses, starting this, doing that. More times than not, it's going to be boring, and it's just going to take a decade, but most people are not willing to be patient. If you are, and you can do one thing for a decade, you're probably going to become wealthy. Number 3, which goes on both point 1 and point 2, is focus is the number 1 multiplier of all of your effort. In the beginning, you were looking for any opportunity that you can get to. You're so used to saying yes to almost everything. This is the same thing with my business, right? Oh, can you come help out for a clinic here, even if it's free? Yeah, I'll do it. Can you train this client? Yeah, I'll train them. Boom, for free. I don't care. I'm saying yes to almost everything. That's what you need to do to start to build your reputation, like we said, to build your skills, to build your knowledge, to build your connections. But most people stay in that loop where they keep saying yes to everything, when in reality, once you start to build, you're going to have to say no to almost everything. People are going to present you new business opportunities. Oh, start this business, or do this, or pivot your business this way. And you're going to want to say yes because, again, like I said, you're getting caught in the novelty, always wanting something new and interesting, but also because you're in that mindset of, oh, I have a shortage of opportunities, when in reality, to scale again, it's going to be boring. You're going to have to keep doing the same thing over and over again. And I made another analogy the other day where, in terms of focusing on your business, ideas, energy, effort, we have tons of different goals. We want to do a bunch of different things. It's the same thing with like a flashlight versus a laser. With the flashlight, the light goes out very wide. It's not very focused, so it's not very strong. It doesn't go very far. Versus a laser is a very single, precise line, and it goes forever, right? It's just because of the focus of that light that's going to yield, obviously, the strength of that. It's the same exact thing with your focus. So if you can stay focused on that one thing for 10 years, if you can say no to outside things, say no to, new opportunities that sound good, that take away your attention, take away your focus, saying no to projects, or, branching off in this certain type of business that might yield some results, but just doubling down on what's working and doubling down on what's going to actually scale and just staying doing that, that's where you're going to get the most of results. And it's just going to take focus. It's going to take saying no. And that's actually what's going to yield you the most results down the road, is sometimes doing absolutely nothing other than what you've already been doing. And yes, it sounds boring, but at the end of the day, that's just what it's going to take. So point number 4, while yes, you want to focus and stay doing the same thing, you as a business owner are not going to stay the same. And one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, especially this year, is you're going to constantly have to reinvent yourself. Every level of business is going to require a new version of yourself. And what you got you to this point isn't what's going to get you to where you're trying to go. So for example, for me, in a couple different life cycles that I went to in the beginning in terms of training, trying to build it up, get my first gym, I had to be very frugal. I had to be very cheap. I had to save every single dollar that I could. And like I said, I had to say yes to every single opportunity. But if I kept doing that, I wasn't going to scale to get to where I am. So once I got to that point, I realized, okay, now I have to shift. I was going from strictly being a trainer to now I have to invest, have to spend $50,000 to get my own gym. And then now I have to become a gym owner, and I have more responsibility. I have to learn new things. I have to learn new skills and become a new version of myself to keep elevating. And then again, I got my first gym. Okay, now I scaled it up, got my second gym, again, reinvesting into people, spending more money, not being frugal in this point, completely changing that. And then getting the second gym, now I have to learn how to manage people. I have to learn how to manage more of a business, employees, different locations. It's again, learning a completely new skill. And again, you get to another plateau. Okay, I'm going to have to become a new person, learn new skills, and reinvent myself to keep leveling up. I'm still doing the same thing, but I'm becoming a new version of myself to keep moving forward and elevating. And that is more times than not why most people get stuck, is because they keep thinking doing the exact same thing and being the same person, having the same habits, having the same beliefs is going to keep leveling them up, when eventually you're going to hit a wall. And the quicker that you can realize when you're at that point and when you need to become a new version of yourself and drop old beliefs and drop old habits or even people, that's when you can then get to the next level. And it's really focusing and figuring out, okay, what are these new skills? What are the things that I don't know that's costing me money, that's costing me opportunity, and how can I learn that and get over this hump as fast as possible to keep elevating? Which brings me right on to point number 5, is what you don't know is actually one of the biggest costs to your business. You think, hey, it's my employees that I currently have, or taxes. When in reality, sometimes things that are sitting right in front of your face that you don't know and you can't act on certain opportunity because you don't have the knowledge to do so is actually the biggest cost in your business. Say you're making 100K and you want to scale your business, and figuring out how to, okay, how can I go from 100 to 200? There's a knowledge gap somewhere in there that you need to learn that is costing you the opportunity cost of $100,000 a year. And most people, again, are scared to reinvent themselves, to learn new skills, to close that gap. They're afraid to invest $5,000 here, take a risk on a program, take a risk on a mentorship, to learn what they need to learn to close that gap. If you spend a year, 2 years, 3 years, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars on opportunity cost completely wasted. So they don't see it as a cost because it's not in front of them. They're not incurring it in the moment, but it's an opportunity cost that you're paying for down the road in your potential of who you could be. And like we were saying in the beginning, most of your income, most of the money you're going to make is down the road, is year 4, year 5, year 6, is usually because you learn these things and then you're able to make that money. But if you can speed that up and make, what you would make in year 10 and year 5, the gap in terms of your wealth is going to be enormous. So don't be afraid, like I said, to alter who you are. Maybe in the beginning, you have to be frugal. You got to save every dollar. You have to invest. Once you get to a certain point, now it's okay. I got to reinvest into my skills. I got to reinvest into who I am. I have to reinvest into my environment, to the people around me, and realize that's actually what it's going to take to get to that next level. Not just, held behind my computer, just keep my head down and grinding and just not focusing on anything else. Sometimes it's completely different. And realize that yes, sometimes you may have to take a small step forward to take 5 steps, 10 steps forward. You're going to have to lose a little bit of money trying different things. Maybe you have a business, you're making $100,000 a year, but you've never tried ads. You don't want to risk money on ads. You may have to lose $5,000 to learn how to do it. And then, okay, now you're going to go make your next 6 figures. So you're going to have to be willing to risk money in terms of knowledge, in terms of experiences, and in terms of trying different things. But oftentimes when people get to a certain point, like I said, what got you here isn't going to get you to that next place. They get scared of losing what they have to get to that next level. And if you're always scared, don't want to spend money, don't want to learn, don't want to get uncomfortable again, you're always going to stay in the exact same place. So with that said, these are 5 lessons that I have learned this year and have been applying to everything that I do on a daily basis. And I'm sure you guys can take some value from this and apply it to your own life as well, depending on where you guys are at in your journey. So if you guys liked it, please hit the like button. Also, a lot of you guys who are watching are not yet subscribed, so please do so you guys can see all of our future videos. See you in the next video soon. Peace.